So thank you everyone for joining us for July DCMA Symposium. I am Christina Lawson, the plant manager for Daisy Brand here in Garland. I am pleased and excited that everybody could join us today, and we look forward to a great program presented by our peers in Garland. First, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Lane Gorman Trubitt LLC, for their support in making this session possible. I'm going to turn it over to Emily Ackerman to tell us a little bit about their firm.
Hey, I'm merely here just to kick it off because Faisal from my team is actually going to really be the one to speak, but I'm Emily Ackerman. I am the Director of Business Development for Lane Gorman Trubitt. I am not a CPA like Faisal is. He's the brains and the real CPA. So any questions about actual accounting, that is him. If you need any kind of connections for your business, whether it's resources or getting in touch with people like Faisal, that's my role. But Faisal, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Emily. Hi, everyone. Nice meeting and seeing you. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick. And where is the man? Okay.
You did it.
Okay. All right. I know we have got about 5 minutes and we have so many other great presentations, so I will try to be concise. I'll be giving a quick introduction to our firm, the services we offer, and how we can be of any help to any of your accounting and audit or other related services needs. So to start with the introduction of our firm, the Lane Gorman Trubitt has been in existence for the last 72 years. We have served our Southwest region for the last 72 years. We are a full service accounting and audit firm. We do provide services relating to audit, accounting, taxation, consulting, financial advising services. We have about 21 partners, 130 people in our firm. We are a single office firm located in Uptown Dallas, and we have about 6,000 clients across the country. And our vision is become the most highly valued advisors and service providers, and our client's testimony speaks for it that we try our best to achieve this vision and objective. We strive for providing a positive working environment for all members of our firms and try to meet the requirements and needs of our community. Our mission is to provide services that our clients need in an effective manner, to be innovative and creative in the scope of services we offer, to conduct ourselves in a professional manner with integrity and reliability, and to be a respected community and industry partner by volunteering time, resources, and talent. Our core values, we really, by having some internal trainings and external trainings, we strive that each and every member of our firm follow some core values. Core values like be accountable for the success of our firm, not just a department or an individual, conduct ourselves with honesty and integrity, reinvest in ourselves with training and education, and by trying new methodologies to improve current processes, enjoy what we do and the people with whom we have the benefits of coming in contacts. We serve a wide range of industries, but the main niches we have at our firm is the dealership services, the construction, healthcare, not-for-profit, manufacturing, and distribution, and real estate. And I would like to kind of say that though these are the main niches we have at our firm, but we deal in other services and other niches too. These are the main niches, but it doesn't mean that we do not serve clients from the other parts of the industries. Then kind of explaining the kind of services which I already spoke. We do accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, audit and insurance, advising, employees benefit, gift estates and trust planning and compliance, financial advising, federal tax complying, state and local tax complying, international tax. So pretty much any kind of accounting, tax, and related services you can think of, we can help you with that thing. Then we are really, really proud of our culture. Like like Emily said, today we have that diverse day, and there's so many events going on. And we have been acknowledged as regional firm, one of the best regional and national firms to work with for the last continuously many years. Latest of that was in 2022 when we were acknowledged as the regional leader and one of the best places to work. We are amongst the top 200 national CPA firms, and going forward, there are a couple of things that I wanted to kind of discuss. The due dates for tax returns. Obviously, the spring due dates have already passed, and we have already extended if we have not already filed the tax side of the things. But the fall due date says that if you have, if your business has extended, then these are the couple of important due dates. September 15th will be the due date for filing partnerships and as corporate tax returns, the pass-through tax returns. September 30th is the filing deadline for trust. October 17th will be the filing deadline for C corporation and individuals, and November 15th will be the tax franchise reporting deadline. And then due dates for estimated tax filing for individual interests, the April 18th and June 15th were the two deadlines to file the Q1 and Q2 estimated payments, and the Q3 and Q4 estimated payments for individual interest will be due on September 15th and January 15th, 2023. C corporation, Q3 and Q4 estimated payments will be due with September 15th and on December 15th, 2022. Now, with this thing, I know we just said we were allotted a slot of 5 minutes, but I would like to say that once I finish this presentation, I'm going to share my contact information on the chat window. And please feel free to reach out to me via the email, phone call, social media, and I assure you that my response will be quick. We will be happy to help or with any question you may have, any business question, any tax planning question, any audit, consulting, any question you have, either I will be able to answer, I'll try my best to answer, otherwise I will find an appropriate person and make sure that you are get in touch with that person to meet your whatever needs you have. And with this, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you, Faisal, and thank you, Emily, for presenting your firm and information. We'll make sure, I know Rick will ensure that that gets distributed to our participants. And I know Emily had put some information in the chat also, so you can find it there as well. So for today's program, I'd like to introduce Stephen Bridges with Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas. He'll be presenting the new workforce, and I believe he has a little extended content for us. Unfortunately, our second presenter had a last-minute emergency that he wouldn't be able to attend, so gives Stephen a little bit more time to expand on his topic, and then if we've got a little bit of time, Paul can give us some updates on some of the things the DCMA is doing to support manufacturers. Just to introduce Stephen a little bit, he is the account executive for Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas with an emphasis on advanced manufacturing. He's worked in workforce development for over 24 years in almost every capacity of the workforce system. Stephen has a degree in organizational communications from St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas. His passion for workforce services fuels his desire to bridge the tremendous talent gap that exists in America. To accomplish this task, Stephen works to develop the strong partnerships necessary to build robust pipelines for today's industry. I'll turn it over to you, Stephen, for the new workforce.
All right, if I can get myself off mute, it'll work. Thank you so much, Christina. I appreciate that. And I want to thank definitely Rick and Paul Mayor, and you, Chad Rummett, and DCMA for having me to share today. I'm really excited about the topic. Very passionate about the topic because everybody's asking me, and they want to know, where did everybody go? What's going on with our workforce? How can we mitigate this issue or that? And so I want to dive into some of that, but I don't want to get too in the weeds because I don't want to bore you. But at the same time, if there's some things that are there for to further this discussion, then hopefully by all means, feel free to ask questions towards the end, or you can even interrupt me in the middle of it. That's fine as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me see where it is. Okay. All right. So we're talking basically about the new workforce. And if you are like me, you've definitely noticed the difference in in applicants, not only the number of applicants, but who they are, how they operate, how they think, just a number of things there. So let's get rid of this thing right here. No, anyway, I got something on my screen. It's part of the Zoom, but anyway, the new workforce, basically it requires a paradigm shift, and that's basically the definition of fundamental change in your approach or underlying assumptions. And I chose this picture for the new workforce on purpose because, a lot of the new workforce, they want to work at home, they want to have their coffee, they want to have their flexibility, and we'll get into a lot of that. But as we talk about this new workforce and this paradigm shift that we have to have as employers and as those that are working to connect employees and employers together, there's three things that I want to cover today. One is the current state of workforce. With that, I'm probably going to, if you're a geek and if you like to nerd out on the statistics, you're going to love that piece. If you're not, just hold your breath. We'll get on to some more interesting information in 2 and 3 when we start talking about understanding the new workforce, right? And then tips for success, what we can do to, help some of the issues that we're seeing with this new workforce. And then definitely some tips for succession, because one of the things that we got hit a lot with the past 6 months is, hey, the great resignation. How are y'all handling that? How can I handle that? How can you help me handle that? What do we need to do to really build a succession plan? Because we, haven't had this. Baby boomers are retiring like crazy. Other people are going places. What can we do to retain that knowledge and that talent? So we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. All right, so labor market information. First of all, you need to know unemployment rate as of May. That was one of the last ones that was, at the time of putting this together, was the last one that was put out, was 3.6% as the unemployment rate for, now this is for Dallas County. Okay, so it's not necessarily for Garland specific area, but it is for Dallas County, not the MSA, but Dallas County. The labor market statistics for supply and demand. Supply, when you're talking about jobs, now this is for manufacturing. When you look out there, there's basically 119,127 jobs in the Dallas County area that have been posted for that have been posted for employers. The earnings per job, it's a little bit high actually than some of the national average, but you're looking at 106,232. Now that's all the jobs combined, right? That's not necessarily the main entry level or any specific things. So, but that's the average. And then you have the demand, which are actually, these are unique job postings. The demand is 4,186 that are unique in our area. You look at what the breakdown of that, the age breakdown of jobs, you've got 14 to 18 years old, it's very minute, 447. But then you jump up, you start getting 19 to 24-year-olds, almost 7,000. And then the 25 to 34 is the 21,000. And as you go a little bit higher in age, obviously, and you're probably seeing this in your workforce, the more you have. And this is in Dallas County. So you got 26,000 to 35 to 44 years old, 45 to 54, a little bit more, 29,000. Then it starts to taper off because you've got some people that are retiring, right? But they're still hanging in there because some of them have to. Gas prices, definitely people are hanging on to their jobs because they need money to put gas in the car. 55 to 64,000. 55 to 64 is 26,000 people, and then over 65, a lot of those people have retired. And so, just in the Dallas County area in manufacturing, according to labor statistics, we've got about 8,000 people that are over 65 that are still working, either needing to work or just hanging in there, and have been retained by their employer. Just a little bit about the supply and demand. It's at 0.72. Now this is candidates available per job opening. And this is significant because you've got 0.72 candidates per job opening. So it's less than one person per job, definitely. You have 81,856 candidates out there. And then you've got 114,000 job openings. And so that you can definitely see the offset. This is the pinch that you HR people are feeling and trying to recruit for your positions. Got over here by the job numbers by openings. I wanted to put this just because this is the overall. This is not manufacturing. This piece isn't, but it does tell you what the what you're looking at whenever you're looking at the whole system. Whether it's somebody just looking for a job in healthcare, looking for a job at all. These are the players, and this is kind of what you're competing against. You've got Dallas Independent School District that currently has 1,523 openings. Baylor Scott and White, almost 1,500 openings. 1,300 for Parkland Health and Hospital Systems. I know one, they don't have a university, UT Southwestern. I'm sorry, UT Southwestern. They have about 1,000 as well. Amazon's over 1,000. So a lot of different groups are hiring in large numbers and needing people in large numbers, and especially when you're talking about those hospital systems. Those aren't healthcare specific jobs. Those are, that's in IT, that's in, the fixing of their ACs, the maintenance piece and everything. So it's total, but there's a lot of competition out there, a lot of jobs, and frankly, as you can see it, there's more jobs than people. Over here, you see a demand, 2,756 employers that are competing. Now this is in manufacturing, all right? And then, but they each have about 50,233 unique job postings. And this is what's been posted over the last 12 months. So there is a current labor shortage, and this is not an easy issue, right? It's very complex. I attended an event from that was provided. The presentation was Rich Rochelle. If you haven't had an opportunity to sit in one of his presentations, he is a labor market guru, economist, futurist, you name it. But very, very entertaining, but also very insightful. He's been with the state for many years, and now he's gone on to do bigger and better things nationally. And anyway, he provided a presentation to the 3 workforce boards at the beginning of the year, and he allowed us to share some of his information. So I took a few pieces of that. And so the current labor market shortage is complex. Basically, demographics, baby boomer retirements. We've got low birth rates and in-migration mismatches with the job market. Another contributing factor is you have a declining labor force participation rates. Now those labor force participation rates, these are basically people that are either working currently or they're looking for a job, right? And so those rates are declining. Workplace safety issues, also an issue for our current labor shortage, staff out sick, virus-based hesitancy. This was a big issue, definitely back in 2020, 2021. It seems like we were coming out of it a little bit here in 2022, but then now you're hit with monkeypox, right? You're hit with another round of COVID, and we're learning to deal with it, but still there's a lot of virus-based hesitancy of people getting out there, and we're having to deal with staff sicknesses as they contract different things that are going around. Change in cultural values is also an issue. You might be feeling this a little bit. Millennials versus Gen Z, they each have different work-life balances when it comes to their priorities, such as some want money, some would rather value flexibility. And of course, the great reshuffle, right? The great reshuffle. This is people that had the time, and this is, I think a lot of people aren't realizing this, people that had the time during 2020 to either sit at home and reflect on their career. What do they really want to do in life? What do they want to do? And a lot of them, we feel like, really did make that side gig their main gig. And they took that time, and possibly some of the government initiative money that they were receiving as well, to just take some time to make that side gig their main gig. And that's one thing that we've had difficulty really measuring. Now, we can measure how many people actually started businesses, at least filed for their LLCs, right? But that pretty much is it, based on the number of people that actually went from working for an employer to becoming their own employer, right? So it's a little bit difficult to measure. And so that whole entrepreneurial effort, I think, had a bigger impact than what we realize. And of course, part of the great reshuffle was also burnout. People were just tired. They were tired of their jobs, and then you add the stresses of COVID and all that kind of stuff, and money and everything on top of that. A lot of people just left and went other places. And then, of course, you have the great resignation. People just resigned their jobs. People that were considering retiring either went ahead and retired early. Some people, just said, "Hey, I'm old. I don't want to mess with this. I don't want to take a chance on my health. I want to live my best life now." So they just got out and resigned and received their retirement. And of course, you have labor market friction as well. You've probably noticed there's a rise in the reservation wage. Now, so people ask me, what's the reservation wage? This is basically the wage that people are holding out for, right? This is what they choose that they would like to make on their job, and so they're not necessarily taking the first job that jumps at them, because they don't have to. There's a lot of jobs out there. This is indeed a job seeker's market, and so there's the reservation wage has gone up, and so a lot of people are holding out for maybe that next bump, or that little bit bigger offer, if you will. So CEOs today, they are dealing with a number of issues that haven't had to deal with so much in the last 20 years, but more so now than ever, which is justifiable. But there's the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you're probably seeing this, a lot of pressures on this. And it's not just about race and gender. A lot of times that's what the first thing we think when we think about DEI. But it's about a lot of other things. Race and gender are primary, but it's about more than that. It's about access to flexible work, right? Who has access, who does not, right? Who's allowed to work from home, who is not? Who's allowed, flexible shifts, and who is not? So you have to consider that when you're looking at your whole organization. Geographic salary considerations, what are they making up in North Dallas versus South Dallas, for the same type of job? What are they working East Dallas and West Dallas, whatever? Same types of positions. What are the geographic salary considerations? Compensation for new employees versus established employees. I know back probably about a year ago, you were seeing crazy bonuses being, offered, hiring bonuses and all this kind of stuff. And we actually had current employees that were getting a little upset because the compensation that was being offered to these new employees to get people in was a little bit more than what they were for the current employees and established employees. And so there's that consideration that you have to do as well when you're looking at filling your open positions. Investments for different employee segments. These are things like daycare for parents, or flexible schedules that will allow them to go and drop off children at school and pick them up afterwards, or whatever. Used to, it was like, well, that was something that the employees had to deal with. You just got to figure this out, right? Well, now employers are really having to consider this because this is what's important to employees. And so, and you're looking at that, and you're looking at investing in different parts of your organization to help mitigate some of those issues for your employees. You also have to think about, what's equitable for my other employees. What about those that don't have children, right? What are we doing to invest in them and their well-being, or what's important to them? Well, maybe that's a flexible schedule rather than having daycare. Who knows? There's just a lot of different issues that CEOs are having to deal with today that they probably didn't have to 10 or even maybe 5 years ago. Shortened work week versus increased pay. A lot of companies are considering one or the other in order to help with that work-life balance. We've seen the largest increase in inflation, obviously, in the last 25 years. And this has definitely impacted salary bumps, right? That salary bump that everybody gets at the end of the year or after their evaluation, right? Got swallowed up, basically, and then some with the current inflation. So it's like, you almost lost money even though you got a salary bump. And so you're having that to deal with. And you've got remote and hybrid work. As that becomes the norm, and it impacts the team dynamics, right? And employee retention as well, with challenges around DEI, who gets to work from home, who doesn't, what divisions, is it functional, just helping people to understand that and how that impacts the team dynamics. I do know that our team, when we went completely remote, right? We had some communication issues we had to work through, some strategies and some policies and things that we had to work through for communication to make sure that everybody stayed on the same page. We're all speaking the same language, moving in the same direction. You have people that work really well on their own, and then some people that just don't. And so if you look at a division and say, hey, this division is going to be, remote, well, what about, you're going to have some people in that division that just don't work very well remotely. There's a garage that's been calling them to clean it out for the last 6 months, and that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be shopping. They're going to be, Netflixing, binge watching, the latest shows. And so you have to be careful, and so it's difficult. The considerations that CEOs are dealing with now are way more challenging than they were before all of this happened, before this new dynamic really came in. And so that's what we're talking about, there being a paradigm shift and just a different approach to the workforce in general. Well, what are some of the things we can do about it, right? How do we fix things that have to do with the labor shortage? Well, this is just one issue. We know the labor force growth rates are slowing, right? This is your population plus your labor force participation rate. It's bringing in fewer new workers. And majority of the future skilled workers are already in the labor force. In other words, if you have skills, you're probably employed, right? So those new workers coming in, they need to be skilled. But also you have to skill or upskill or reskill your current workforce. This has become one of the most important tools, we believe, in your approach to addressing worker shortage. Because if you train the bottom line, right, they move up, then you have an avenue to bring in more that are less skilled. And so that's what we're looking at. And later on, after the presentation, they mentioned I have a little bit more time. I was so glad that they said we did, because we have an opportunity we definitely want to share with you guys. And it's an upskilling grant that we received. And so we have monies that we want to partner with you on to help you upskill your workforce and your labor force. So stay tuned definitely for the end of that. You want to hear more about that. We'll get you all that information. But upskilling, reskilling, yeah, definitely one of the biggest and most important approaches to addressing shortages. All right, again, how do we fix it? Well, now this is kind of looking at the other side of the coin. This is looking at the current workers and how they're doing, right, at your workforce. Wellness has become a primary key that employers are also using to understand their employees. This is according to a Gartner 2020 survey. 94% of the companies made significant investments in well-being programs. Companies that weren't even thinking about the well-being of their employees. They were just, hey, we got jobs, we got plenty of people, we're just moving them in, moving them out. Well, now they need to retain those employees. Retention has become more of an issue for them. And so a wellness program could definitely go a long way to help retain employees. 85% increased support for mental health, 50% increased support for physical well-being. They added gyms and so forth, right? And whenever I say 85% increased support for mental health, that's not just your standard APA, you EPA, right, where you can call this number and talk to somebody. They significantly looked at some different ways that they can help with the mental health issues and benefits. 38% increased support for financial well-being. They actually help their employees understand, better, and maybe set up savings accounts and so forth. Just things, whatever they could do to help their employees be more financially stable, where they wouldn't leave, right? For that extra 25 cents and so forth. And so getting people to take advantage, however, of the wellness programs could be a challenge because employees aren't used to it. They're not used to that kind of help, right? Especially from their employer. So it may take a cultural shift, and it may take some time to kind of shift the culture even of your organization, not only to provide those things and for your employees to take advantage of them, but for them to trust that you really care and this is something real, right? And so this is definitely something to be considered as we look to kind of fix this problem of bringing employees in, retaining them, both providing them skills they need, as well as things like health, mental health, physical health, and financial health. All right, when we talk about culture, we were talking about that a while ago. This is now one of the primary motivations for retention, right? The impact of social and employee engagement in the workplace can make or break an employer when it comes to retaining good employees. If you're not engaged with your staff, and your staff are not engaged with the employer, they're not engaged, with you as a company. This is one of the primary reasons people leave. We hear it all the time. People don't necessarily leave jobs, they leave a boss, right? Or they leave for some reason. They're not as really invested in the company. And so there's issues that become bigger than their reason to stay. People say, oh yeah, people drive down the road for, 25 cents more or whatever, they'll go across the street and work for so-and-so for, I don't think, honestly, that doesn't hold a lot of water for me. Now, I hear that all the time, and I've even probably said it in the past, but the more I've looked at this, the more I'm realizing, you know what? If somebody has a true place that where they like where they work, they like who they work for, and they like who they're working with, then you've created a culture that they don't want to leave, and they would not leave just for 25 cents more, right? But if you don't have these things in place, then that's why they're leaving for 25 cents more. Does that make sense? I hope so, because this is something we really need to look at and make sure that we're thinking about for our organizations and for that retention. Is you've got to build a culture where people want to, they're spending majority of their hours of their life there. Nobody wants to be miserable, right? People want to enjoy where they work, enjoy who they work for, and enjoy who they work with. So building that type of a culture in your company is going to be primary for retaining good employees. Do exit interviews really work? I don't think so, honestly. You're asking me, so how did you feel when you worked here? Do you feel like you were heard? Like you're asking me now. I'm leaving, right? And most of the time, you're either not gonna get an exit interview. Your HR people know this. You're either not gonna get one, or whenever you do get it, you're gonna find out all the crap that's been going on that you should have known about, and could have known about, and would have fixed earlier. So, let's get away from the exit interviews. Let's start engaging with our employees now on a level that they do trust that they're there, they're being heard. Here's some tips for success on engagement with employees. One, are your employees valued? Do you really value them as an employee, not just as a number, not just as a something that's going to keep the bottom line going up? Do you value them as a person? Now, I'm talking to you about the new workforce, right? This is where they're at. They want to know, am I valued as a person? Do you really care about the things that I care about, right? So are your employees valued, and do they know they're valued? Some people are like, yeah, they know. I mean, yeah, we value them, but do they know it? How have you demonstrated that you value your employees? How have you communicated that you value your employees? Have you really engaged with them? Or is it just a sign in the break room, we value you? Do they feel heard, right? How many times have people, left an organization, they're like, well, they wouldn't listen to me. I knew how to fix that issue, but they wouldn't listen, right? And so that's something that you have to work with as far as your supervisors, your people on the floor. Are they really listening to the employees that are having to deal with the problems that they won't fix? So do your employees feel heard? Do they believe that they are a part of something important? Do they recognize their role not only in your organization, but in what your organization's mission is and what it's accomplishing? Do they, because people need to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, right? And if they realize that, they realize, hey, you know what? I am helping to produce this, which is solving this problem in the world, right? Then they know they're contributing to something that's way greater than themselves. And then it becomes more than just a paycheck and a place to go get it, to go to work. It becomes a mission. It becomes their mission. They have more buy-in, right? So do they believe that they're part of something important? Do they value what they do? If people valued what they do, honestly, then you probably wouldn't even have to have QA or QC. Well, you do for a lot of other reasons. But I tell you, just in the value of the products, whenever people are, okay, let me give you an example. My wife and I, we bought an RV, right? And the RV situation, there was a rush on RVs in the last couple of years. And just like this industry boomed big time. And we actually had to wait on ours because we ordered one from Winnebago, and we had to wait for it. It took about 9 months, honestly, to get it. But people were complaining about those that were being rushed through because, all the different RV manufacturers didn't have enough staff. And so, they had people retiring too. They lost a lot of knowledge. They were having to retrain staff as quick as possible, plus try to meet this demand to getting these RVs out and blah, blah, blah. And not Winnebago necessarily, but a lot of the other manufacturers. I was watching a lot of the forums, and they were talking about the quality of their products had just gone downhill. Just the manufacturing way things were put together. And there was a lot of complaints and a lot of fixes and a lot of issues. Thank goodness we hadn't had those, but there was a lot of them, and it's due to people not really understanding their part of something important, right? Or the valuing what they do. They were just there for a job. They were told to put a screw here. They were putting a screw there. Maybe not, and it was going through. So do they value what they do? Do they feel they belong? Do they feel they belong to in your organization? Do they feel wanted? And are there ties to your company more than just a paycheck? I think if you answer a lot of these questions before, then you'll answer that last one, right? Are there ties to your company more than just a paycheck? These are some tips for success, some things that you definitely need to consider as far as engaging with your employees. But another thing I want to do is talk about tips for succession. Because as I mentioned, we talked about the great retirement, right? Great resignation, right? Which had a lot to do with great retirement and so forth. But what are you doing to capture the knowledge base before these people leave? What have you done? What have you have set up? And how can you increase that? How can you make it better? How can you make it stronger? Because I tell you, we do. We have companies calling us, kind of freaking out, like, they're about to retire, they're leaving, or they already left, right? And now, they had so much knowledge and so much, there's one thing to know where to put a screw, but there's nothing to know how tight it needs to be, or how deep, or how long that screw needs to be, and for what reason, what that impacts on down the line, right? A lot of that stuff comes from experience and wisdom that has been gained by these tenured employees. And if they're walking out the door with that knowledge, without transferring it to someone else, then you're at a loss. And we see so many companies that are in this situation, and that's why their productivity, their production value, their quality is all down, because they didn't have a plan for succession. And so I want to encourage you to definitely have one. Capture that knowledge before they leave. How do you do that? Well, there's a few ways. Here's a few ideas that we've kind of put together that feel like can help. Definitely, you have to find a way to standardize your processes. There's so many things that we take for granted in organizations. Well, so-and-so knows how to do that. Well, so-and-so's gone. Who knows how to do it now? Has it been standardized? Is there a policy or a process that's been written down, right, that someone else can follow, and have they been trained on it? That's another thing. We've had people that are coming in having to try to read the policy for the first time on how to know, or the process on how to do something, without really going through it with the person that knew ahead of time, right? So we have to find a way to standardize your processes and make sure that you've captured that information. But don't leave it up to one person. A lot of times this is left up to the HR person or HR coordinator. Yeah, I need you to, standardize all these processes or these policies or whatever. No, spread the work around. That one person many times does not have all the knowledge they need to accurately standardize or formalize this knowledge that needs to be captured. So spread the work. Go to the people that actually do it. Have them help to formalize that process, and then reward them. Give them an incentive, a bonus or something for creating that policy, for creating that process for your organization, and then have them to train someone else and compensate them as a mentor. You know what? Hey, I know you're doing great at your job, but we want to make sure you always have a backup. I would like to make you a mentor, and here's Jeff, and I would really like you to train Jeff, right? Have these processes formalized, write this thing down, and then train Jeff. Pay him a stipend to train others on and how many people they trained on how to do that, right? Think a little bit outside the box. What can you do? Don't just take it for granted. Oh, that's their job, they should be training. No, their job is usually to do their job, and then we throw training on top of that, right? And so let's compensate them as mentors. Let's reward them for formalizing that process that they know. This is especially good for those people who are retiring, right? People who are retiring, they want to know that they made a mark, that they did something in this world, right? For that 25 years, rather than just get a watch or a pen or whatever the heck it is, that 50 years that they were with your organization, what are you doing for them? A lot of them are thinking legacy, and man, if you can just take the opportunity, and just throwing it out there, this is just a suggestion, whatever policy or process that they formalized for you into a standard process for others, especially if it's something that they gained, this wisdom that they gained from knowledge and years of being on the line doing it, name that policy after them. Make a big to-do about it. Praise them for it. This is them leaving a legacy. They're leaving their mark on your organization because they probably did this, whatever this process or whatever it was, better than anybody else. Name it after them, and then have people train, in that. And anyway, that's just an idea of helping to think, because a lot of times they are thinking legacy, and what an honor, that's the Nancy Drew policy, right? Or whatever. There we go. If you have already lost your talent, right? If there's people that that have this knowledge that have already walked out the door, definitely consider hiring them back. Hire them back, bring them back as a consultants, even if you have to pay them, double their salary for what it was just for a short time. I tell you, the investment in gaining that knowledge back will often way outweigh the investment that you put in, had to do for them, had to give them. So hire back your retirees, have them be consultants to help formalize, capture that knowledge, and possibly even do some training to make sure that it's accurate. And you definitely, finally, you need to commit to innovation. You have to. We can't have the mindset, and you got to completely rid your organization of the mindset of, that's the way we've always done it. You've got people that think that way. Please help them to transition out of that way of thinking. And that requires a cultural shift, a commitment to innovation. Hey, people get stuck in their ways. And we know, especially in manufacturing, where it seems like it's one thing, it's the same thing repetitive after. Even a repetitive process can be tweaked. It can be innovated, right? And so you have to commit to innovation. And in doing that, even capturing the success and this knowledge, be innovative in doing that. Think about all these ideas and even more that I haven't shared. How can we actually really capture this knowledge before it walks out the door? So in capturing the knowledge, again, you may even consider hiring someone like a change agent. This is not a new supervisor, right? This is not somebody who's going to come and tell everybody what to do or a new process that has to happen, right? But this is someone who can help support transitions, right? These are people that are smart enough to know that what needs to be held onto and what needs to gracefully transition out. See, a lot of times what happens is companies will hire someone to come in to do these changes who doesn't really care about the way it was done. Nope, we're not doing it that way, we're doing it this way. And they lose employees, right? Or they lose their buy-in. But if you got someone who understands, okay, yeah, this has been the legacy, this has been the way they've done things, right? And this is great. We need to hang on to this, but this is what we need to gracefully transition out into the new ways, right? So it's not a supervisor, but it's someone that helps with that transition and incorporates the change without sacrificing staff or productivity. You've probably seen it. I've seen it. Someone comes in with new ideas. They want to change everything. Next thing you're doing, staff are leaving. Or the next thing happens, productivity is down because they didn't consider this, that, and the other, or they didn't take into account the knowledge from the staff that are currently there in order to, that's going to keep this thing running. Oh, I didn't think about that. All right. So these are just some tips for succession, and helping to capture that knowledge. We hope that you, definitely consider some of these things. In summary, there's definitely more jobs than talent to fill our openings right now. You see that, I see that from a workforce standpoint, and we know it's difficult. You must upskill and rescale the talent that you currently have. Again, I'm going to talk about that, an opportunity for that in just a moment. But this is going to be primary in getting, attracting new employees and retaining the ones you have. Care about what your employees care about and engage with them to curb turnover. Capture your knowledge base before it walks out the door. If it's gone, bring it back. Commit to innovation and change. It is a new workforce. Obviously, it does have new rules of engagement. And engagement is the primary key in that statement. And finally, I always preach this. This wasn't in my presentation or anything, but it's something that I always leave with people, especially now when they're trying to fill their vacancies. Recruitment is marketing. Recruitment is marketing now. It's not just posting jobs. It's not having job fairs. It's marketing. If you have a marketing budget, consider, for your products, you should have a marketing budget for your job openings. And you should commit as much innovation and creativity into attracting employees and branding your company as the place to go to for your types of jobs as you can. So it requires marketing. Recruiting is now marketing. I want to thank you all for your opportunity to listen, and hopefully you enjoyed something out of that. We'll stop sharing for just a moment and pause just to see if we have any questions or discussions around these topics before we jump into the upskilling or recruiting, upskilling and reskilling opportunity we have. Any comments or questions about anything I shared?
Stephen, I have a question. You talked about early on your presentation about the great reshuffle and career, reflection and some of that entrepreneurial effort. I've experienced that in some of the technicians that we've interviewed. They started small business or things like that. But I've also heard some stories of, they get into that, they did it for a couple of years and they're returning to the workforce because it's either more work than they thought that it was going to be, or maybe that platform is changing, or just a variety of reasons. Do you see that kind of turning back to having people come back to the workforce? Like I gave the entrepreneurial effort, or maybe now it's like a side gig again. Have you seen anything turn there?
We haven't seen it yet, but I have a feeling in time we will. Yeah, definitely. Because there are some, but I don't think the percentage has been high enough. People probably haven't been out there long enough. Usually people will give an entrepreneurial effort about a year, and usually, and that'll tell them whether they can make or break, right? And if they haven't met those benchmarks after that, then they'll say, you know what, maybe I need to go get another job and work on this a little bit more. Maybe this needs to become a retirement job or something. So yeah, I do expect that to happen. I don't know how much. I don't know how many will be successful and go on and stay out there, and how many will come back. But yeah, that hopefully will contribute a little bit more to the participation rate.
Hey, Stephen, thank you very much for this great presentation. Will you be able to share the soft copy of your presentation?
Yes. I'll actually shoot that to Rick. And Rick, I did send you one earlier, but I've revamped it a little bit. So I'll send you a new one. And if Rick, if you don't mind sharing that out with all the participants here today, I appreciate that.
Sounds great. Will do.
All right.
I
Yes.
actually have another question that I'll ask on behalf of manufacturers, if other people have wanted to give them an opportunity.
Sure.
So one thing that we all know is one thing that the new labor force is looking for is that flexible work schedule. And with manufacturing, like, that has been probably one of the most difficult things that we very much are sympathetic to and would want to provide, but have a lot of challenges being able to do that in the manufacturing space. Have you heard ideas or things people have tried, or because we've talked about this in the DCMA steering committee and different things like that, but I was just curious if you've heard creative solutions on maybe how some manufacturers are going about doing that.
Sure, a couple of different scenarios. I know that one of the window companies, Rick, help me out there, and they're in Garland, one of the window companies that's with you.
Is it Quest or Anderson Windows?
Anderson Windows. I was talking with them, and they had a specific line that they put together that was for, and it was a shift of, it was a short shift, but it was a short shift that they put together, and they staffed around that for basically for their single moms that needed to drop off their kids before school and pick them up afterwards. But it was a shortened shift, but it was one of their key shifts, right? Because it was right in the heat of the day, the middle of the day. And these people were so loyal and so productive whenever the company, their Canadian-based company, whenever they come down and said, hey, you can't, you need to change this up. They said, you're not going to touch that shift, because these people, they realized that, they had to have that in order to actually retain these employees. So that was a consideration of a flexible shift for them. Another thing people are doing, and I know I don't know if we actually can make it. I saw on the agenda someone from Variable was going to be speaking, but I don't know if he's here. No, Variable's not. Okay, but that's another opportunity as well. If you think about a variable work shift as well, if you have certain peak times or whatever, and you need to maybe staff around a particular shift or staff for something coming up, variable is almost like the Uber of the workforce for manufacturing. They have an app. It's a platform you can put on there. Hey, I need 10 people doing this, next week, starting on Monday, this is the pay, whatever. And people who also have signed up with Variable, they see that app, they're out there, and they want gig work, right? They want shift work. They want to be able to work for a stint and then go off. And so they can go on there and they can accept that. And you can actually have a variable work shift where they're coming in and working. They work for them, but they work for you, right? So they're hired through Variable. And you can actually rate those employees. It's really cool too, just like you rate your Uber driver. You rate those employees on how well they did, would they show up on time, were they there every day, blah, blah, blah. And that goes on their record. So other future employers see that. So it's an incentive for them to actually, show up on time and do really good work. Many employers have found people, that have been great workers through using that variable system as well.
Stephen, you've got about 3 minutes. So if you're going to talk about the money that.
Okay, sure. Let me go ahead and jump over into that. I mentioned we had some upskilling opportunities, and we do. If you go to our website, share it here real quick. If you go to our website here, this is Workforce Solutions. If you go into the Doing Business with Us page and you scroll down, there is several RFPs that we have out right now. But this one's particularly for employers and requests for proposals. So I actually have that proposal pulled up. So let me go ahead and share that one because I just want to share with you what it is. Let's see, my Word document. There it is. Okay, cool. All right. So this is it. Let me get rid of that. Okay. So this is the RFP here. And basically it is monies that we have obtained to help you to skill up and skill your employees. Now this is funding assistance, right? To qualifying employers for skilling individuals. For full-time permanent employees, the training has to be necessary for employers to retain skilled workforce, improve the skills of their employees, increase the competitiveness of their employees and the employer, or to retain or avert a layoff. So that's what this is about. And there's a few qualifications in here. You can kind of read through those. I can send you these documents as well. But the companies have to, the participating in incumbent worker training, you're required to pay a non-federal share of the cost. Now, don't get turned off by that because here's the percentages of the cost depending on your employer size, but also that paying and that cost can be in kind, or it can even be considered the employee's wages, right, while they're attending the training. So really, it's no cost to you. We can work it out that way. That's the thing, because there's the in-kind contributions of it. All we have to do is document that, and we got it. So to qualify for this, the incumbent worker has to be employed, meet the Fair Labor Standards Act requirements of being actually having an employer-employee relationship. So we're not dealing with contractors here, right? And have an established employment history with the employer for 6 months or more. It says, however, exceptions apply, and I don't understand this one. We're going to get clarification. When training is provided to 2 or more employees in the same cohort. So not sure about exactly what that means. Maybe that means the majority of them have to be incumbent. So the deadline for this is a little soon. It's within the next 2 weeks, actually August 11th, 2 weeks, I think, from today. So, but if you're interested in this, this procurement, this RFP proposal, it's short. Let me just show you right quick. If we go to page, and this is just a bunch of documentation crap. Anyway, this is the submission proposal, and it's only like 4 pages. So you just basically, it's a fill in the blank. You fill out this information, and our team will get back with you and talk about how we can do this. But if you're interested at all definitely just let me know as quick as possible. I'll get you with the right people. We'll get this going, and it shouldn't take long. And like I said, just 4 pages there. We'll get all that filled out and get you some training happening. We can help train your current employees, upskill them, right, for better jobs or whatever. If you've been looking for a training opportunity or training program to help do that, to create some movement in your organization, let us do that for you. This is available. I can give you the link. Actually, I can just go ahead and post the link in the chat for this, and all of you can take advantage of it, or we'll also have Rick to send this RFP out to you. There we go. Okay, so there's the link to our website there where that's located. But again, another great opportunity to upskill your employees at no cost to you. So that's pretty much it. Thank you all for the opportunity. Hope you really got something good out of both the presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. We really appreciate that. I know this has been a huge topic for all the manufacturers around labor force and that kind of thing. So I know I was feverishly taking notes and had a lot of good ideas for myself in my own facility. So hopefully others found it valuable as well. So really appreciate you taking time. Sounds like it was good we had extra time because you were able to kind of cover that more in depth, which was really nice. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Lane Gorman Trubitt again, Emily and Faisal, thank you so much. And we really appreciate everybody's attendance and look for more involvement from the DCMA as we expand our services to improve your life and make business better. And we'll send you a short survey regarding the symposium. So we would really appreciate it if you take just a minute to fill that out. That's how we can provide the best content for you and what suits your needs. So Rick or Paul, any final words before we adjourn?
No, it's, everything, and Steve and I appreciate you. He and I have been friends for a long time, and everything we talked about under Christina and Chad's leadership, and Shayna Clapp, who heads our HR subcommittee, all of this is being talked about, and not just talked about, but directing resources from the work pipeline to the specific programs. You're going to be seeing a lot more of this. Hopefully you're getting our newsletter, thanks to Christina's urging. We created it. We now put our second newsletter out that talks about these opportunities. But I second thank you to Steve, and I was listening to or looking at the chat responses. This is right in tune with exactly what needs to happen. So thank you, everybody, and stay tuned. There's going to be more coming.